This is not because I hold no brief for these two dear friends, but because I was asked, commanded, to present their story without argument, polemic, defense, or excuse. For the most part, it is a story that I know only as it was told to me. How do I know, then, and how can I assure others that it is accurate? I know because I was present at the many hypnosis sessions at Sandringham, during which I was absolutely sure that the king was not pretending. For, as brilliant and versatile as he may be, he does not have, other than in the hypnotic state, the ability to read, memorize, and recite backward the Karachi yellow pages at high speed, all the while simulating with intense bodily jerkings the paroxysmal death struggle of a saltwater gamefish. I know because I used every means to verify all that was related to me. And I know because I have it on the word of someone who has suffered mightily for the sake of such things as keeping his word. But I know most of all because it was told to me, bereft of embellishment, as a duty of the heart, and in memory of one who is gone. I do admit to having taken some liberties of narration. How else could I convey the scope both of their adventures and their transformation? But you cannot trust me. You must trust only the story. I myself am but a cipher to their great account, and what follows is not mine, but theirs. And when you enter, you will be not with me, but with them most certainly. Imagine, therefore, that within these paper portals is an ancient monarchy brought to a parlous state, and a warlike and restless prince lost in a time that for its lack of passion, modesty, and truth was inappropriate to him, and broke his heart again and again, but could never break it all the way. Geoffrey Lord Piggleswade, Gower Lodge, Mortlake. Part 1. The Garden of Eden. The man who would be king, who would rather not. The wind was luffing over the tablelands of sky as a storm built up at sea, but its slow passage promised hours more of sunshine, and that the lakes would stay blue. Toward the end of a morning that for September was quite warm, a boy of Kilmuir was cutting across the open land on his way to Staffin. The way was long, with neither road nor path, but the more empty the places in which he travelled, and the more space to separate him from all else, the more, in his eyes, he achieved. At the northern tip of the Isle of Skye are mountains resting in a skirl of cloud risen from the firth. Here storms are seen from far off and cannot surprise. They mount in black even as the sun shines upon the oceans of purple heather over which they will sweep. Sometimes, if the west wind is slow, the storms stay still and their bright thunderbolts flash like neon lights against unmoving walls of dark cloud. One such storm had risen at sea and was at the back of the boy from Kilmuir. Like the farmer who fills the bin of his combine with a golden stream of grain, he had a sense of adding to his riches, not with every second that passed, but with every step he took that carried him away from the settled world. He was 14 and did not tire. His strength only grew as he crossed the flatland and climbed to the plateau. Though the storm behind him billowed higher and higher, he was confident that were he not to slacken, but rather to build strength upon strength and speed upon speed, he could outrun it. What a triumph not to have taken the road, but to have crossed the landscape with no engine save his own heart. With rhythmic ease he ascended a wide apron of broken rock to what seemed the highest and most deserted plain in all of Scotland. For a moment, with his senses attuned to wind and sky, everything was perfect. But then perfection broke, when he saw, as if in a magazine advertisement come to life, a green Land Rover parked on a rise and facing west. Unlike most military Land Rovers, it gleamed. It had impressed into the grass a track that would take a year to heal. If 20 or 30 like it were set loose upon even so wide a place as this, they would criss-cross it with thread-like cuts, collapse burrows, and crush nests. Abandoning a line of travel that he'd bent only to skirt lakes, he turned toward the offending object. Surely whoever had broken the spell of these highlands was inauthentic, someone who did not and could not belong, who was soft and pale, and would shrink before this young Scot, who would shame him into going back to London or New York. Thus a victory of the wild over the settled, farms over industry, the pure over the polluted, the gold over the dross, the wheat, the chaff, and so on, although it was true that he himself wanted quite badly to go to London. As he closed on the Land Rover, he saw through its windows someone who was standing on the other side, and very colourfully dressed. Were it a girl, confrontation might be inappropriate, especially were she pretty. She would probably be a London girl, beautiful and elegant, with expensive clothing and a Florentine scarf draped over her shoulders like the petals of a crocus, though he'd neither seen such a thing nor heard the words for it. He understood, however, that the appearance of a girl like this might be possible, and that something was out of the ordinary, for he saw painted on the passenger door, behind the driver's position, one of the involved little crests that grace many things, from post-boxes to bottles of cologne, over 2 familiar letters, P.R. This signified Queen Philippa. He didn't know why she might be called Philippa-a. Had he known that the royal family's last name, taken upon the abandonment of their German dynastic name during the Great War, was Finney, according to his lights her initials would have been P.F. From the shine of the car and the painted crest, he thought that it might belong to a travel company, of the type that takes people to places where they think they can't walk, but where, when they do, they walk all day through torrents of clouds and sky. Swinging around the back of the spotless vehicle, he saw who had brought it there. It was neither a girl from New York, nor a girl at all, not even an Englishman, but a massive, white-haired, kilted Highlander, with a face that had been shaped by many battles. On his wrist was a falcon the size of an eagle, which, to register the intrusion, lifted its still folded wings and cupped the air. Unwilling to be dumbstruck, the boy of Kilmuir held his ground, saying in the pure accent of Skye, "I thought you were a girl." "Whom are you addressing?" the falconer asked, imperturbed. "You,